Welcome to our Stage 3 highlights package of the 2019 Tour de Limpopo. Today's stage from Zanin to Coach House takes in the beautiful citrus fields that pepper the surrounding area and moves in a clockwise direction from Zanin all the way to the old Coach House. The stage, made up of 103 kilometers, has two King of the Mountains challenges, no hotspot sprints of the day, but a total elevation gain of 1,973 meters. The first King of the Mountains prize has the 5-3-2-1, the standard points on offer, and the second one, double points on offer because of the steep grade at the end. The teams took advantage of the local banana plantations and fueled up for the day. The day's temperatures would be in the mid-20s with a southeasterly wind of about 7 kilometers per hour. The riders were talking nervously amongst themselves about the day's challenges. Was it going to be the distance, the temperature, or the final climb that would depict the result? Today's neutral rollout was very short in comparison to yesterday's. The riders lined up behind the neutral support car. Not even 5 minutes into the stage, the flag would get dropped and we would see the first attacks of the day. Everyone eager to get the racing done. Team Skills would launch the first attack, but they were marked quickly by Dimension Data and ProTouch. Soon, a 5-man break would mount. This breakaway would have Ruan Depoy from ProTouch, Louis Visser from TEG, Jean-Pierre Lloyd from Office Guru, and Herman Keller from the Namibian-registered NCCS team. The riders were eager to take advantage of everything they could, whether it was aerodynamic positioning or the shortest way around the corners. While the 4-man break worked hard to establish a lead, the bunch seemed to let them go. It was early days, there was still almost 3 hours left of racing. They weren't in a hurry, but the front 4 were. They were working hard to establish a lead. Whether it wasn't an aerodynamic tuck or the shortest way around a corner, Ruan Depoy was leading them, working hard to make an advantage. The group of 4 worked their way towards Majajiskloof and the Gakapane region, a large uninhabited region area within the greater Letaba municipality. The first 40 kilometers of the stage would see us go through a wide variety of topography, from the citrus fields through to the bushveld. The group would establish a lead of 53 seconds over the main field. As we approached the base of the climb, JP Lloyd from Office Guru launched his attack, possibly protecting Dylan Girdlestone, his teammate's third place position in that competition. Herman Keller, the NCCS rider, took second place points. But the surprise was the bullet attack from HB Kruger. He launched himself out of the peloton for Alpha Bodyworks. He had been lying in second position on the King of the Mountains competition. Now Kruger had picked up 2 points and he was going to be tied with Dimension Data for Quebec's Connor Brown. The two riders tied on points with 7 points apiece before we approached the final climb of the day. After the King of the Mountains competition, there seemed to be a little bit of confusion within the peloton. Do the riders push on to establish a lead, or are there going to be counterattacks? The peloton wasn't sure. Even Alex Parsons from Team Brunei in the yellow jersey, he wondered what lay ahead. Was he going to sit in the field, or would he attack for the climb ahead? Shortly thereafter, a group went away, 5 riders. David Marais from Enza Proud Beginners, Louis Visser, who was in the earlier breakaway with TEG, hadn't had enough, and nor did Herman Keller, NCCS. He was there again. Dominic Skills, the British rider from Velo Skills, joined the breakaway, and so did Alex Warsdale from Office Guru. The peloton seemed to be in chase mode. Jason Oosthuizen in the green jersey was sitting comfortably, and the 5 were still pushing on as they hit the plantation of the macadamia nuts. But within sight of the climb, the breakaway of 5 went to a breakaway of 2. David Marais of Enza Proud Beginners and Alex Warsdale of Office Guru were the 2 that went away. David Marais, possibly one of the most aggressive riders in the country, he would push on. But at the base of the climb, the peloton came. Dimension Data led the chase. The work being done by Samuel Mugisha and Martin Laverick, the 2 outstanding domestics who've been looking after Connor Brown. Once on the slopes, another breakaway formed of 4 to 5 riders. Pro Touch had 2 riders here, Clint Hendricks and Kent Main. Dimension Data had 2 riders here. Then it went from 4 to 3. Kent Main from Pro Touch, he was there. Samuel Battistilla from Dimension Data was there. And Eric Manazabayu from Benediction XL Energy was there. The 3 of them hit the final 2Ks. Number 12, Battistilla from Italy, he knew the steep, sharp climbs were going to play into his advantage. With the finish line in sight and just a right-hand switchback to go, Kent Main and Samuel Battistilla tried to break the Rwanda rider of Eric Manazabayu. They applied the pressure on the steep part. Once they rounded the corner, there was little but 200 meters left to go. Manazabayu tried to fight back. Main looked over his shoulder and saw him coming. The 2 timed their attack, and Battistilla went with 100 meters to go on the steepest part of the climb. He was going to take the stage. It would be the 2nd day in a row that Dimension Data won a stage. The Italian proudly showing off his sponsor's name, Dimension Data. Well, I'm here today at the finish line with the Italian rider Samuel Battistilla for Dimension Data for Quebec. He just won the stage 3 at the Tour de Limpopo. Samuel, how did it go for you today?
The sensation was not good at the beginning of the stage, because yesterday and the day before I pushed a lot for Konishev and Konno. But today the plan of the team was to take the climb from the beginning full gas. And after see how many riders stay in my wheels, I tried to attack a few times, but 2 riders resist in my wheels. So I hope I did the sprint because I'm also fast. And hold on, go, yeah, the race went good, so I'm happy for the victory.
The final results for stage 3 saw Samuel Battistilla for Dimension Data for Quebec take the top step, Kent Main from Pro Touch take 2nd place, and Eric Manazabayu for Benediction XL Energy taking in 3rd. From the recreational activities on offer and the agriculture and the wildlife, the Limpopo region has so much on offer. One really has to visit it to understand just what a special place this is. Be sure to visit us tomorrow for more highlights of the final stage 4 in the 2019 Tour de Limpopo. Good morning, folks. Welcome to our viewers for Stage 4 of the 2019 Tour de Limpopo. The stage today leaves from Tzaneen and moves back to the capital city of the Limpopo region of Polokwane. We've got a 116-kilometer stage with 1,976 meters of climbing. We have 1 hotspot sprint at the 14.5-kilometer mark and 1 King of the Mountain category climb. Category 2 climb challenge at the 26.7-kilometer spot. Joining me in the booth today is Pro Touch rider Miles van Muschenbroek. Hi Miles, how are you?
Hi Kurt, thanks for having me once again.
Great, let's talk about how the stage started today. It looked like right from the gun the attacks went. I think it was Flavio Veneschlau. He went early right as the gun dropped. I think he was trying to perhaps protect the lead of Jason Oosthuizen. His TEG teammate has the green jersey and he wanted to perhaps protect that lead from Jason by creating a move that might stick to the first hotspot sprint at 14K, but it was neutralized.
Yes, definitely. There's been a lot of action already in today's stage, even though they're quite a long way into the stage already. So I think that TEG rider going out from the start line was probably trying to neutralize that green jersey for his teammate Jason Oosthuizen. But there was a lot of attacks. The racing was flat out from the start, and we already saw quite a few groups going off the front.
I mean, once we crossed the Letaba River on those bridges, it seemed to really start to take shape. And the 4 riders who took shape in this breakaway here was number 36, Jean Bosco Zengemana from the Benediction XL Energy Group, was number rider 112, HB Kruger from Alpha Body Works. He's in the red colored jersey. And then there was, who else was there? Sorry, no, that's incorrect. That is incorrect. I think we have
The 4 riders out front, it was Harbia Kruger. There was a Benediction rider up front and a Sampada rider. That they were pushing really hard to go to the first hotspot of the day. Jason Oosthuizen would have been happy with this, because this was going to pretty much neutralize that competition for him. There is only one sprint competition out on the route today. So Jason Oosthuizen very happy with this move, going very early on.
That's right. It was Remy Sarabubi from St. Louis-Sion, the reunion rider, who was there, and Siobonga Somichaza from Sampada, who was there. But
those 4 riders, yes. So those 4 riders, that group eventually split into 2. And the 2 riders out in front, the Benediction rider and Harbia Kruger, got quite a big gap just before that first hotspot.
Yeah, so the Benediction XL Energy rider is Jean Bosco Zengemana. So he and HB Kruger broke away from their initial group of 4 and made their way to the base of the climb. Now, it was very interesting today because we've got a 116-kilometer stage, and the first hotspot sprint came only at 14.5 kilometers into the race.
That's very early on. And if I'm not mistaken, the climb, the King of the Mountains climb, started 200 meters after that hotspot. So for the guys going for that hotspot, you've already got some sting in the legs before the climb starts. So I think it was more a tactical decision as to, do you go for the hotspot or do you sit back and wait for the climb?
Well, we just saw Jean Bosco Zengemana from Benediction XL Energy take the hotspot sprint from HB Kruger. I really don't think HB Kruger was out there for the sprint. I think he was more out there for the King of the Mountains points, which came a little bit later on. So roughly after that hotspot sprint, the 12-kilometer climb up the Magubuskloof Pass starts with the top of it coming in at 26.7 kilometers.
Wow, that's quite a big climb. If we looked at stage 2, stage 4 is kind of the reverse of that route, with a few laps at the finish line. So that very chaos descent that we saw the riders go down on stage 2, this is actually the climb that they will go up today. So quite a steep technical ascent to that KOM.
Yeah. It's what I like about the climb, though, is that the gradient doesn't seem to change. It looks like it's a constant 8 to 9% the whole way, which is nice in terms of being able to get a rhythm. I mean, we see the peloton starting to disintegrate here, but I think by the fact that there's a lot of people still together, and this was maybe 2/3 or halfway up the climb, shows that they could find a rhythm. You know, those climbs that chop and change between 4% and 14% and 8% and 12%, hard to get a rhythm on.
Team Dimension Data setting a relentless pace up the climb, rode the bunch to absolute pieces. You can see Harbia Kruger going on his own solo towards that King of the Mountain. But yeah.
So let's talk about that, because as he's making his way towards the top of the climb there in the King of the Mountains jersey, the leader of that competition is Samuel Battistella from Dimension Data for Quebec. Second is Connor Brown, also for Dimension Data for Quebec. And HB Kruger was actually in 4th place behind Kent Main. So HB Kruger had 7 points, Battistella had 10. If HB gets the points on offer here for first place, which is 5, he will then lead this competition.
So there's Harbia Kruger going over the line, Team Alpha Bodyworks taking the King of the Mountains, and that moves him up to first on the King of the Mountains classification with 12 points. Depending on who got the rest of the points, I think Connor Brown came in there in 3rd position over the King of the Mountain, which put him tie with Harbia Kruger. So both of those riders on 12 points in the King of the Mountains competition.
Yeah, I think it was Samuel Battistella who came in, yes, which ties him, I think.
Samuel, yes.
Yeah.
So Samuel got 3rd.
So it looks as though what we have, we're live now with David Marer, the very aggressive rider, David Marer. And so we are looking at him right now. He's away from the field. Rider number 166, David Marer from Proud Beginners, Enza. He's 30 years of age. He was in moves yesterday, and honestly, at the end of yesterday's stage, the red jersey, the most aggressive rider's jersey, awarded for the rider who's put in the most attacks or shown the most aggressive. He was in contention between Herman Keller, NCCS, and David Marer. They gave it to Herman Keller yesterday, the red jersey, primarily because Keller was in two different moves.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Morer was very aggressive, but Keller was in two separate moves, both of them that lasted 20 plus minutes each. So he got it, but it's great to see him out there. But while the Dimension Data guys are pacing at about a 40-second differential to Morer, let's go back to that King of the Mountains competition, because as we say, Samuel Battistella, who's leading the race in the yellow jersey, has now 12 points in the King of the Mountains. But HB Kruger from Alpha Bodyworks Giant also has 12 points in the King of the Mountains, so they are tied. There are no more King of the Mountains points on offer, so they are tied on points going to the finish of this stage, the finish of the tour. I'm interested to find out how the commissaires are going to differentiate that. I've seen it done two ways in cycling. The one way I've seen it done is the way they do it in track cycling, which is the tie split will be determined by who wins the final sprint or the final challenge. In this case, it would be HB Kruger. But you've seen it done another way. Explain to me how you've seen it
Yes, so what I've seen in the past is normally the highest placed rider on the general classification would be presented with the jersey. So I'm very interested to see how they're going to play this one out.
Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be interesting. We'll have more information on that for you
Samuel,
as the stage unfolds.
Samuel Battistella currently in the yellow jersey for Team Dimension Data. That's why they're taking control of the race and doing a lot of the pacing. Kent Main only 1 second behind Battistella at the moment. So Pro Touch Kent Main only 1 second behind the yellow jersey. Connor Brown also riding for Team Dimension Data, 21 seconds behind the yellow jersey. So Dimension Data have kind of have two cards to play today, but I mean the race is still very much open-ended. In the past, I've lost a tour by 1 second, and it's definitely not a great feeling. So I think there's going to be some hard, aggressive racing out there today.
Wow, interesting.
There goes David Murray up this very, very steep climb.
For me, he's a super exciting rider because he's always going to be in the action, in the thick of the things, no matter what race he enters.
Yeah.
Whether it's a track race, whether it's a road race, he's either going to be in the thick of the action working for his teammate Nolan Hoffman or Stephen Van Heerden, or he's going to be a catalyst for his own success.
100%. I think he definitely wants that red jersey today at the end of the stage.
Yeah. He's going to wrestle it off of Keller's back, and he's going to just show us that he's worth it for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see a few of the Office Guru riders put in a few good attacks up this climb. Mark Pritzen's sitting in 4th position overall, 1 minute 1 second behind the yellow jersey. Dylan Girdleston, his teammate, in 5th position, 1 minute 6 seconds behind the yellow jersey. So the race is definitely not over. It would be great to see them, if they do have anything left in the legs today, to put in a few good attacks and try and move their way up the general classification.
So, where we are right now is we're at the top of the climb, where it says the King of the Mountains there on the map. We've passed that. We're heading towards that little area where on your screen where it's green, but it has a dam just below there. This is a very undulating escarpment. That's why it looks like they're still climbing. It's about 12 to 15 kilometers where the road goes up and down, and heads towards Hartensburg. So it's going to be tough for Morer because in places the road is very straight, and even though he's got a 40-second advantage, I think the peloton will be able to see him. But he's going to make his way towards Zion City. At that point, the route becomes very exposed. There's not as much forest left. He's actually going to go down that pass. There's not as much forest. Not that there's a lot of wind today, mind you. So he doesn't get any advantage from the forest sheltering him from the wind and stuff like that. But he's definitely going to be more exposed as they make their way to Zion City, which is the place that gathers 3 million Christian pilgrims every Easter weekend gather at Zion City. You can see it from the highway, these expansive fields where buses park, where people gather to worship and stuff like that. I Googled it and saw photographs of it. It's really impressive.
Yeah, that's incredible. David Murray, not a threat on GC. He's in 10th place overall currently. 10 minutes 31 seconds down on the yellow jersey. So they're probably letting him roll out to about 40 seconds to a minute, but they will hold it there. They're not going to let him get any further, I don't think.
So earlier we were talking about this being a UCI 2.2 stage race, and obviously the majority of the guys in this race are pros or elite riders, and they're looking for UCI points, Union Cyclist International, offering points on grabs. Why would it be important to host a UCI 2.2 tour in your own country, and why is it important for nations to be garnering these points on offer as opposed to teams?
Yes, that's a very good question. The Tour of Limpopo is a UCI 2.2 event. No one can just log onto any website and enter the race. The race is by an invitation, so the teams are invited. In this particular race, there are 6 riders per team, and it's very important for these riders and the teams and the nations to have access to these UCI points. All the UCI points gained are normally accumulated, and there's a nation ranking, and it's very important for South Africa to be very close to the number 1 ranked nation in Africa. This comes with a whole bunch of advantages. We'll be able to qualify more spots into the Olympics, Commonwealth Games, and the Olympic Games.
Okay.
So that's where that comes in, and the whole UCI points ranking. At the beginning of this year, South Africa was in 4th position behind Rwanda, Eritrea, and Algeria.
Out of all the countries in Africa?
Out of all the countries in Africa. And quite recently, having checked up on that, we are actually ranked number 1 at the moment.
Nice.
That was probably due to Daryl Impey's success at the Tour Down Under, as well as Ryan Gibbons being very, very consistent on the world stage. So South Africa currently ranked number 1 in Africa, which is a good thing for us. So we will be able to qualify more slots into the Olympics, Commonwealth Games, and the Olympic Games going forward.
Fantastic. Thanks for that explanation. So obviously David Moreira has now started to descend the escarpment towards Zion City. He's right outside the Mapani district. We're probably pretty famous for the Mapani worms. And he's heading down towards the Zion City area. It's about a 6-kilometer descent, pretty gradual, around about 4 to 5%. Peloton's not far behind him. Our last time check was about 40 seconds. It looks like it might be coming down though.
That's a very small peloton, to be honest, compared to what we saw this morning on the start line.
Yeah, the riders, 113 riders left in the race, but there's certainly not 113 riders here.
Just moving back onto that point of the UCI races, we see teams like TEG and Team ProTouch and Dimension Data Continental registered teams. The reason why teams take this step is because all the UCI events are by an invitation. So to get into these races, UCI Continental teams will get considered first over a club team. So yeah, the Continental teams would normally get the race invites first. So that's why teams like TEG and Team ProTouch and Dimension Data register their outfits as a Continental team.
Okay. Well, that's great. That's awesome news. With an Olympic year coming up, that's important for us. So helpful information.
David Murray putting the hammer down, trying to stay away from the peloton.
He's got a great position. I mean, he's in the hooks. He's got a very neutral spine, flat back, aggressive rider. You know, quite an aero position for a smaller rider. You usually see a lot of differential between saddles and bar height with taller riders. But he's got a very aggressive position for a shorter rider. Beautiful day. You know, the other thing I was noting, I have a friend of mine who's been a cameraman before, or he's been a bike marshal before on races in this area, and he said to me that this area is quite known for being misty. Yes. Around the mountains, and we've had 4 days of fantastic weather, not a cloud in the sky. Temperatures roughly in the mid-20s every day. Today's a little bit cooler than yesterday, but you couldn't have or ask for better weather. Temperatures in the mid to high 20s consistently. Winds of about 7 kilometers per hour consistently. As a bike racer, that's just absolutely awesome. No wet, no wind. Great stuff.
No, that's brilliant. It makes it a lot safer for the riders as well.
Yeah.
The road rangers once again doing an incredible job to keep the riders safe.
Yep.
It would make their job a lot harder if it were to be a bit misty and rainy. CJ Julius just off the back there asking for some assistance from the Team Pro Touch car. Team TGLs on the back. That looks like Brandon Downs, if I'm not mistaken.
Just see rider number 111, Danielle Matthews for Alpha Bodyworks, still in the field here.
We can see the teams that have numbers in the group there. Office Guru, it looks like Office Guru still have their full team there. The Team Dimension Data still have 5 riders. Looks like Pro Touch had 3 riders in the bunch there. So I think it's going to come down to a numbers game at the finish. What do you think?
Yeah, it certainly could. I mean, there's still some distance. And then when we come into town roughly at the 99 kilometer mark, we have 5 laps of roughly a 3 kilometer circuit around the stadium here. It's going to be interesting to see this. The Peter Mokaba Stadium, which was built in 2010 for the Football World Cup, that's the enormous football stadium adjacent to the athletics stadium, another impressive facility. We're based right outside of that, and we're going to have a bit of a Kermesse/Criterium circuit of 5 laps, 3 kilometers each lap. So the riders will come in at about 99 kilometers, and the stage finishes at 116, 5-lap race. So that could come into play. Riders could be tired at that point. Teams with numbers could really separate the field there. We've got, 90-degree right-hand corners. So it'll be very interesting. But I see the yellow jersey here of Samuel Battistella. I don't see the polka dot jersey of Connor Brown. This is very interesting.
That's quite interesting. Confirmed he's not in the group.
Now, Connor Brown, let's talk about the general classification, because on GC we've got Samuel Battistella, Dimension Data for Quebecer. He's leading the event at 8 hours, 46 minutes and 27 seconds. In second place is Kent Main from Pro Touch Continental, 8 hours, 46 minutes and 28 seconds. There's 1 second difference between the two. Miles, who would you say might be the better sprinter between Samuel Battistella and Kent Main?
Sure, that's a tough one. I don't really know how good Samuel is in a sprint, but I think coming down to the line, if Samuel has more teammates coming into the final sprint, he might have the advantage over Kent.
Because there are time bonuses on the line.
There are.
5
seconds and 3 seconds, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me just check that. I will look at that, but I think it's 10 and 5. But I will check that. So the 1 second advantage, the 1 second differential between these two
might actually come down to the final sprint.
And then we've got Connor Brown, who is in the King of the Mountains jersey, or is wearing the King of the Mountains jersey today, because Samuel Battistella, who leads that competition, is wearing the yellow jersey. So second placed rider in that competition gets to wear the polka dot. That's Connor Brown, his teammate, Dimension Data for Quebecer. He's lying 3rd overall in the GC, about 21 seconds back.
I haven't seen him in the group.
Haven't seen him in the group either. That is going to be very interesting. I wonder if a mechanical took place or if he fell victim to the climb.
Yeah. That's very interesting, because if Connor Brown is not in the group, that gives Mark Pritton and Dylan Girdleston some motivation to go to the front and start to do some pacing, because that'll move Mark and Dylan one place up on the general classification as well.
So we look to see if we can get any information about Connor Brown. I mean, it's somewhat ironic that the guy in the King of the Mountains jersey, or a guy who's been up there in that competition, may be off on the climb.
Wow, so look at that gap. That is quite a big gap we have at the moment, eh?
Definitely. I'm going to put it at over a minute.
David Murray really putting the hammer down out front. I think he's in contention for the red jersey today.
This is not a good sign. I'm seeing ambulances. I hope that is not for our race. But I am seeing ambulances move through the convoy. There goes 1, there goes 2. So that is not a good sign, but I hope it's not for our race. I don't have any comms from race radio about any incidents today, but I will check up on that.
I see David Murray using the disc brake version of that KTM bike. It's been quite a debated topic of recent times with, do you go disc brakes, do you stay with rim brake bikes? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think, from a safety point of view, in terms of braking in the wet, when rims get wet, they're tricky to operate. So disc brakes obviously work better in the wet. So what tends to happen with the rim brake is the rim is wet, you apply the brakes, the brake pads have to squeegee that water off of the rim, and you get the sensation as the wheels rotate past the brake pads of the brakes not working, and you might then apply them a little bit firmer, and then all of a sudden they grab. And if the wheel grabs in the wet, now you start to skid and slide and lose control of the bike. So a disc brake operates a little bit more consistently, true to feel. So I think from that point of view, from a safety point of view, it's a great transition. People talk about the different response time between a disc brake and a rim brake, but I think the rider gets used to applying what they need to apply in order to stop. I mean, you get a point of reference for what you're riding. I know I'm using Durace brakes. I've got to apply it at such a pressure point. I know I'm using rim brakes, cable activated rim brakes versus a piston activated rim brake. You get to learn your point of reference. So I don't think that one is more dangerous than the other in terms of that. In terms of weight, I think it's negligible. I think, what we're seeing nowadays is that it's very rare that an elite race has a average speed below 44k an hour.
True.
So the aerodynamic advantage of a disc brake might be the telltale sign,
I think for a team logistically, if half the riders on disc brake and half the riders on rim brakes, it can be quite difficult. So
hate to be a mechanic there.
I think it has to be a team decision. All the riders are on disc brakes or they're not.
Well, I don't think it's the rider's decision, to be honest. I think it's the sponsor's decision.
Okay.
Because the sponsors are the ones that are paying them and providing the product, and so the riders, they might have a preference. I know in MotoGP, riders have a preference as to what tires they would like to use, but they have to use the tires that they're given, or and so on and so forth. So, but David Murray, man, really pushing on. He not only when he's in a breakaway where he should be settling down into a rhythm, and you might think he's just going to get along with it. He's out of the saddle, he's hustling the bike, and then he's in the saddle, and he's always looks like he's fighting the bike, but that's just because of how determined and aggressive he is in these breakaways.
He also has a long list of achievements to his name. He's won lots of races in the past. One of his biggest achievements was probably winning the polka dot jersey at the Tour of South Africa a couple of years ago.
So here's an interesting thing that I want to touch base on, is that on the King of the Mountains, we've got Samuel Battistella leading for Dimension Data. We've got Connor Brown in second place for Dimension Data. In the Best Young Rider, we've got Samuel Battistella leading for Dimension Data, and we've got Connor Brown in second place for Dimension Data. So, Samuel Battistella is also leading the general classification, the Best Young Rider, the King of the Mountains. Obviously, the yellow jersey trumps the other two. So Samuel Battistella is going to wear the yellow jersey for the general classification. Now, the other two classifications, Best Young Rider, would go to the second placed rider.
Yes.
That would be Connor Brown in the Best Young Rider, but it would also be Connor Brown in the King of the Mountains. Now, Connor Brown can't wear two jerseys.
Okay.
So which jersey does Connor Brown choose to wear? I think it is the Best Young Rider. I think the Best Young Rider, it's a GC for the under-23s. Okay. That will trump the King of the Mountains jersey. So I believe what we're seeing in that lineup of Dimension Data riders is Connor Brown in the white jersey, because that is a general classification competition.
Oh, so he's in the bunch.
And I think Kent Main is probably wearing the polka dot jersey today in third place.
Okay.
Because that goes down the line, right? So
there's quite a lot of confusion when there's one rider winning so many classifications.
A lot of confusion, but here, that's just a very interesting scenario that doesn't come into play that often. But right now we see the green jersey, Jason Oosthuizen for TEG. He's sitting comfortably in the field there, and he has tied up that competition.
He has.
Good for him.
Jason Oosthuizen, Team TEG, winning the green jersey.
That's nice for TEG Continental. Can you tell me a little bit about that team, how they came about, and the riders on that squad?
Yes, so that That team has been around for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. Last year they were a club team. This year taking the step up to register as a continental team. Gustav Passon is on that team. Jason Oosthuizen and Louis Visser, Brandon Downs, Flavio, and Damian Gomez. Flavio's surname?
Flavio Venceslao.
You know him quite well from the track.
Yeah, I know Flavio Venceslao very well. I raced with his father Moses. In fact, we were Madison partners at the Joburg Grand Prix one year. We finished fourth in the Madison. He comes from and his dad Moses raced for a long time, 30 years back in the day. So they're a cycling family for sure. And Flavs has done the track and the road. Diminutive rider, small guy, lightweight guy, pretty good climber.
But he can also put out a good sprint, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but we're seeing currently his teammate, Brandon Downs, number 44.
Brandon Downs?
Yeah, he was just right there at the back of the field, yeah.
He was the winner of the 94.7 last year.
Wow.
So quite a few good riders on that team. Jason Oosthuizen, the under-23 national champion last year, as well as the junior national champion and time trial champion the year before that. So a very good rider in his own right.
Yeah, very decorated rider.
Gustav Passon winning the first edition of the Tour of Limpopo last year. So some very good riders on that team.
Also at the back of the field here, we're seeing rider number 66, Alexander Warsdale. He was in the break yesterday.
Yeah, he put in a big effort yesterday. Legs probably feeling a bit tired, but he's looking quite strong out there.
Yeah. And also sitting at the back here is HB Kruger in the red jersey, rider number 112. He is the guy who actually won the King of the Mountains competition today. Not the competition, rather, but the King of the Mountains challenge on that Category 2 climb up the Machubiskloof Pass. So he's done his kind of duty for the day, so to speak, and is just sitting in and getting towed towards Polokwane, where we will finish today's stage outside the big athletic stadium here, outside the big football stadium that was built in 2010 for the World Cup. That is the Peter Mokaba Stadium. Impressive facility. In fact, as we get closer to town, Miles, we should see that in the distance.
Yeah, just driving out this morning, we saw it as we drove in the distance, and it was quite a nice view to see the stadium. So I'm sure once the riders approach the stadium, we'll be able to see that.
So I'm just getting feedback from the commissaires. Earlier on, we had a question. If HB Kruger for Alpha Bodyworks Giant is tied on points with Samuel Butterstiller Dimension Data for Quebecer, if they're both tied on points at 12 points apiece in the King of the Mountains competition, how are they going to separate that competition? I just got word from the commissaires they're going to look at stage wins first, and that will determine it. And if that's the case, currently Samuel Butterstiller won yesterday's stage. He will get that jersey over HB Kruger.
Okay,
unless HB Kruger wins today's stage, then there's a tie again. And will they go to, leader on general classification at that point, or will it come down to who won the final stage?
That's very interesting. I wonder if Javier Kruger actually knows this information.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a multi-talented rider. He splits his time between mountain biking, road cycling. He's also done some track. He's won the famed Paarl Boxing Day, as you mentioned yesterday. I didn't even know that. I feel kind of embarrassed that I didn't know that. But so he may know about it. He may know the intricacies of the different classifications. As we approach Zion City, Maria, that is the area where the large pilgrim gathering happens every Easter weekend, the large Christian pilgrim gathering. 3 million people gather here. On the left-hand side of this road, you'll start to see some open fields, and that's where people gather and worship. If you Google it, I'm sure you'll see some of the photographs from that gathering. It's really, really impressive stuff.
You can see the bunch starting to stretch out a little bit. Team Dimension Data controlling the race at the moment. You can see Team Pro Touch right behind them. All the riders are together. Just trying to count how many riders there. 1, 2, 3. Pro Touch have 5 riders, and so do Dimension Data. I see. I think, not quite sure who that was at the back there. Yeah, David Murray is pushing on. The Pro Touch rider at the back there was Ruan Deploy, I think he made it back because we actually saw him get dropped on the climb. So there might have been a big group that rode themselves back after the King of the Mountain.
It looks as though that was the case, because I remember seeing that. Didier Munyaneza, rider number 32 for the Benediction cycling team, he was perhaps at the back of that field, but he's now back in the main peloton. So that's great that he's arrived. Not too sure if folks can hear we have a marching band outside our commentary booth. There's nice to see that the Army Marching Band is outside, providing a little bit of music and displaying their what would you call that?
Their talents,
expertise. Yeah, expertise. It's always impressive watching people work in unison, whether it's a marching band or an army on the march. So they're providing that for the local people waiting for the race to come to town.
On the topic of Ruan Deploy, he has taken part in a few other UCI tours in the beginning of the year. He was at Tour of Gabon. He rode in the Tour of Rwanda as well. He actually claimed the sprinter's jersey at the Tour of Rwanda in February.
Wow.
And he was also at the Tour of Malaysia recently.
Sure.
So there has been quite a busy racing schedule for the Pro Touch guys. So a lot of them going into a little bit of a rest period after this tour, or possibly have just come out of a rest period. So yeah, just part of the planning towards the second part of the season.
And he's a rider who's been around for a while. I know that he was a successful rider with a team from a couple of years back called Lights by Linear.
Yes, correct.
He raced overseas and has done a couple of stints there in the Belgian
very strong time
series.
Very strong time trial rider.
Yep. Yeah, right. There we go. Danielle Matthews, 111. He's a former SA national team member of the track. Slightly built rider, but he was a junior member of the South African national team at the 2017 World Track Championships. In fact, he was very successful in making the finals of the scratch race. He finished 19th in the world in the scratch race there, and he was the first part of the first South African Madison team to make the finals in the last 10 years. We haven't had a junior team make the Madison final at the World Track Championships in the last 10 years, and he made it with another rider, former Pro Touch rider, Ricardo Broxham.
A lot of these riders do quite a bit of racing on the track, from what I can see. I mean, even David Murray is an ex-South African points champion.
Well, I think, in terms of learning how to race, learning how to time sprints, learning how to finish a bike race, the track offers you a lot of advantages. Any given day at the track, you go to a track race, you have 4 races. You probably have a scratch race, an elimination race, a missing out race, as it's called in the States, or devil take the hindmost. You might have a points race. A points race is going to be 20 Ks with sprints every 5 Ks. So you'll have 4 different races, and within a points race, you'll have 4 different sprints. So at any given day at the track, you might have 15 different opportunities to sprint for the finish line. If you get it wrong in the first race, you've got another 2 or 3 races. If you get it wrong in the first sprint of the points race, you've got another 2 or 3 or 4 opportunities to rectify that. On the road, you go to the midweek criterium, at Killarney or something like that. You mistime your sprint, come back next week. So for the track, you really learn how to finish bike races, you really learn tactics, you really learn how to judge distances, and it really sharpens your ability to perfect bike racing. So we're just getting word that the band that's playing outside our commentary booth is the Moria Band. So it's from that area, Zion City, Moria, that we just went through. And they are at the finish. We might get some shots of them a little bit later. But yeah, so there's a lot of benefit to racing on the track. It's tough though because, at some point riders are going to choose. They're going to choose to either follow the road or follow the track. And but there's a lot of benefits for junior riders particularly, and under 23 riders to spend some time there.
Yeah, brilliant. There we see Dimension Data still taking control of the race. Team Pro Touch hot on their wheel. All the teams grouping together in that bunch.
So and I'm looking down about in 12th place. I see Jason Oosthuizen in that green jersey, so he is there. I'm seeing just in front of him in the white helmet and navy blue kit is Stephen van Heerden, but I'm not seeing Nolan Hoffman, the Enza rider who's lying second in the points competition.
Yes, from what I can imagine is that he was probably dropped up that big mountain we went up.
Yeah.
What's interesting to see is that the yellow jersey has changed hands every single stage. So do you think it's going to change today?
You know, I mean, Battistella won the sprint yesterday, but it was an uphill sprint. And usually when you start to apply steep grades, it's going to blunten the sprintability of a really powerful sprinter. That's why we don't see, you know, the likes of Cavendish winning on short, sharp, steep sprint finishes. It usually plays into a rider that has a little bit of power to weight ratio. So I don't know how he would finish on a flat finish. We do know that they're pretty organized with their lead-outs because, you know, they finished up there with Battistella, they finished up there with Connor Brown. So if they have the numbers at the finish, they could position Battistella well. Who knows? Who knows?
That's some nice shots of the teams there. Team Dimension Data. We just saw Jay Julius in the shot there from Team Pro Touch.
So number 14, Alexander Konashev, this is very interesting. He's been the domestic. He's bringing bottles up to the front. Alexander Konashev, can you imagine that? You're in the Tour, you're wearing the yellow jersey at one point, and then a day later, bang, you're a domestic.
There we go. Office Guru putting in a big attack here.
So riders 62 and riders 64.
Travis Barrett, it looks like.
And Jean-Pierre Lloyd.
And Jean-Pierre Lloyd going on the attack.
Wow.
This is interesting. They're trying to probably bridge the gap to David Murray out in front.
So a two-prong attack from Team Office Guru Racing.
This is interesting. And we're back to David Murray. You can just see the amount of effort he's putting in. Oh no, it looks like David Murray.
Oh, this is not good.
He has a puncher, a rear wheel puncher.
Like he has a slow puncture.
Shame,
this
man.
Is terrible. This is terrible. So, you know, if there was a black jersey on offer for the most unlucky rider, he's going to get the red jersey and the black jersey. We had that once in the Tour of Zimbabwe. We had, because the roads were so bad, guys were getting punctured left and right. We actually created a black jersey for the rider who got the most unlucky situation of the Tour. It was awarded at the end of the race. And that rider number 62, look at the scars on his elbow. That's Travis Barrett. Looks like he may have gone down earlier in the Tour or maybe a week or so ago.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see David Murray do a quick wheel change and be on the attack again.
Right. Yeah, he might do that. He's a fantastic rider to watch. Certainly no boring footage watching him.
I think Travis Barrett may have come down in that crash on stage 2, where we saw Orion Craig.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Come down as well.
You know, another team that we haven't seen much of today that who has a rider in the top 10 is the Skills team. They have a rider, I think, James Jobber.
Yes, James Jobber currently in 8th position, 3 minutes 31 down.
They're a great team. They're a team out of Great Britain racing here. They've been here last year. They're here back again for the Tour de Limpopo a second time. So that's Team Velo Skills. We might get to see them in the field. I didn't notice if they were in the main bunch, but I think they are. Team Velo Skills, James Jobber is their best placed rider, but their team leader on paper is Dominic Skills. Really nice guy. I was able to chat with them a couple of times last night. And then I also found out that their rider, in fact, I think we have an interview with Dominic Skills. That's Velo Skills coming up.
Fantastic to see you guys here. How do you like South Africa?
I love South Africa. I came here last year and it was just a great race. It's a great country. The people are really friendly. The organisation's great. The racing's great as well. So the team absolutely love it, and top race.
What are you expecting for tomorrow, the final stage, as we head back towards Polokwane?
It's a really tough start tomorrow. It's about a 40-minute climb, so we hope to all be there in the front group or the second group, and hopefully we're in for a shout towards the end on the local laps. Because I remember last year it came back together towards the end, and then because there's a lot of criteriums in England and Belgium where we race mainly, it should suit us more than the other riders who are not used to them.
So that was an interview with Dominic Skills, who's the team leader on paper for Velo Skills. Like we said earlier, his teammate James Jobber, who was just over his right shoulder there, is actually doing the best on paper. He's lying in the top 10. But he talked about them doing a lot of criteriums and kermesse races in Belgium and liking the sprint finish or the circuit finish that we've got at the finish here. So they might be targeting a stage win themselves.
Yes, if they've got that experience for criterium racing, it does put them at a big advantage for the stage win.
So it looks like these two guys from Office Guru are reeling in David Marais. I'm surprised that David Marais hasn't had any neutral support with him to give him a wheel. That might be because the time gap is less than 30 seconds. If it's less than 30 seconds, no support can get between the peloton and the breakaway. They don't want that vehicle to offer any unfair advantage or act as a carrot. But David Marais is still hanging in there.
It looks like Team Dimension Data are not happy with those two Office Guru riders going on the attack. Travis Barrett from Office Guru recently took part in the Tour of Taiwan, so he has come off quite a good block of racing, so probably showing some good form.
Sure, Marais is still going at it. It can't be going that flat then.
I wonder if he's managed to change it, because he did have about a 50-second gap to the peloton before the two Office Guru guys attacked.
Well, we certainly didn't see him get any mechanical attention. But Samuel Mugisha, I mentioned this yesterday, Samuel Mugisha, rider number 15, has done an outstanding job this tour for Dimension Data. And Martin Laverick, it's like those two guys, Samuel Mugisha and Martin Laverick, they're the two domestiques. Mugisha is from Rwanda, Martin Laverick is from Slovenia, and those two guys are the domestiques for Dimension Data for Quebec. Whenever they need a group brought back or a breakaway nullified, those two guys go to the front. They did a lot of work yesterday pacing the peloton back to the breakaway riders of David Marais, incidentally, to get them in touch with the peloton before the 5-kilometer climb up to Coach House.
There we can see the gap
shot.
quite nicely. Yeah, that's a great shot.
Awesome shot, showing Marais, who's alongside the leader's car, the white Audi, sponsored by Audi of Polokwane, and then the two guys bridging across to him. He's going to have some help here. This might allow him some time to rest and recover, but honestly, that gap between those three riders and the peloton, I don't know if that's going to grow.
I think Dimension Data have this one under control. There we go. So the two riders joining David Marais out in front. So we have JP Lloyd, Travis Barrett and David Marais out in front. Two Office Guru and one Enza rider.
So, Team Office Guru, they have Mark Pritson in their team, and Pritson has been a real player in this tour up until now. He's been a factor. He's been on the podium a couple of times. He's worn a jersey, I believe. Yesterday he wore the jersey for the best young rider. Although he was lying in second place in that competition, he got to wear it because the rider above him was wearing the yellow jersey. So Pritson definitely been a player. Where is he lying overall currently?
He's currently in 4th position, 1 minute and 1 second behind the yellow jersey. On the best young rider classification, that puts him in 3rd position.
Okay. So Marais sitting on now, taking a little bit of a break. I wonder if they're going to rotate and work together, or if he's just going to let those two guys get on with the job.
I definitely think they're going to commit together, and they're going to all roll through and do an equal amount of work. I think they're all interested in the stage win, to be honest, so there's no reason why David should be sitting on unless he has a mechanical, but they all should be rolling through, contributing to the pace.
And between David and Jean-Pierre Lloyd and Travis, who would you say is the faster finisher?
From experience, I think David might have a mental advantage from his experience because he's a little bit older than the two youngsters from the Office Guru team. But having two riders versus one, Office Guru are definitely at an advantage because they can probably start to 1-2 David towards the finish line,
Right.
and actually try and get away. But Travis Barrett, I mean, he's also got a big sprint on him. So to be honest, if these three came down to the line, it'll be very, very interesting to see who would take it home.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow. So, and if these three guys stay away, they will take up the time bonuses that are on offer for the stage win, and that won't necessarily affect Battistella or Kent Main.
Wow, so that's quite interesting. So if they do make it to the finish line, these three riders, that pretty much neutralizes those time bonuses.
Yeah, because none of them are within 3 minutes of those guys, I don't believe.
No.
Moreira's at 10 minutes 31 seconds, I believe.
So David Moreira is the highest placed rider on GC out of those three.
Mhm.
10 minutes 31 seconds down. So
these guys
no
could be
real
3
threat.
minutes up the road, and it's not going to affect the yellow jersey for the stage finish.
you never know. Dimension Data might get a bit greedy and want the stage win,
Mm-hmm.
showing their dominance.
Yeah.
But right on their wheels, we have Team Pro Touch right behind them. Ken Main in second place, 1 second behind. It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to try and sprint for the stage win. I mean, he has to. It's 1 second, and that's the only way he's going to be able to make up that extra time.
Well, we're just seeing there the yellow jersey. That is Samuel Battistella from Italy for Dimension Data for Quebec. He's leading the race. And just dropping into the third position on the screen there was the white jersey. That's Connor Brown. He's wearing the white jersey for the under 23 best young rider. Now Battistella, the yellow jersey, he leads the competitions of King of the Mountains, of yellow jersey, and of white jersey best under 23. He can't wear all three jerseys, so he's given the white jersey to his teammate, who is Connor Brown. He's lying second in the under 23 competition. So we've got Battistella, rider number 12, riding on the front here. We've got, it looks like Laverick, number 13 in second place, but all the Dimension Data guys are working there, including
Yellow
Alexander
jersey.
Kanishев.
If you look at that, the yellow jersey putting in some effort, rolling through to the front, and it looks like this gap's coming down, and these three riders might be pulled in by the bunch. And that's it. It looks like they're sitting up. They've come to realize that they're going to be reeled in, and that's the peloton swallowing up the three leaders.
Wow, so for my money, that's going to be a tough one today. I mean, HB Kruger was away. He did capitalize on that breakaway by winning the King of the Mountains challenge on that category to climb up the Mahubaskloof Pass. So he could be a factor in for the red jersey, most aggressive rider of the day. David Moreira, he was out solo for a long time from the top of that pass all the way through Zion City, Maria. So he could be in contention for that red jersey, most aggressive rider of the day. But now we'll see what comes of this. There could be more attacks as we come towards the capital city of Limpopo, Polokwane.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are 1 or 2 attacks coming off this peloton now. It looks like Steven van Heerden was moving up the side of the bunch to get a much better positioning. So I wouldn't be surprised if he would be looking at to try and ride away.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. The races come back together. And just a reminder, the Tour de Limpopo is a collaboration between Cycling South Africa and the Limpopo Tourism Agency. The two entities working together to showcase this beautiful area. And it's just fantastic. I mean, we've gone from sort of the Bushveld region where there's a lot of animals and wildlife. We've gone down to Tzaneen where there's a lot of fruitlands, citrus fields, banana plantations, macadamia nuts, granadillas, mangoes. It's been fantastic.
And there we see Dylan Girdleston putting in a big attack, a teammate on his wheel. It looks like that seems to be their tactic. They're attacking in twos, the Office Guru boys. And I think that could be Alexander Vorsdale as well, going with Dylan Girdleston there. They are Dylan Girdleston currently sits in 5th position on the general classification, 1 minute 6 seconds down. So this might be them trying to gain a little bit of time on the general classification. We see
immediately marked by dimension data. I'm going to say that looks like the style of Alexander Konashev, who would be rider number 14. We were waiting to get confirmation on those numbers, but he's a good sprinter.
Yes, a big reaction coming from the peloton. We can see, looks like 2 more riders trying to ride across to those 3 guys up front. There seems to be a bit of a lull in the bunch, and that's definitely going to be to these 3 riders' advantage. So Dylan Girdleston and Alex Vorstel putting in a big effort to try and get away. That gap growing really fast.
So this area outside of, wow, those guys are really committed. And
5 riders trying to come across there to these 3.
Yeah, and there's help coming along the way.
This is an interesting move, because Dylan Girdleston only 1 minute down on the general classification. If this gap grows to more than that, we could see a new race leader. Wow, there's been a big lull in the bunch there.
So we're 2 hours into racing. This part of the route heads back up towards the mall where we had the hotspot sprint on the way to Zanin 2 days ago. And we have some concerns about this area just because policing the roads, there's a lot of little dirt roads that come in and out from the sides. So I have an interest to see if the road rangers can be very effective, because we've seen donkeys, we've seen cattle, we've seen cars that shouldn't be cars on these roads. So hopefully the race can get through this part of Limpopo. We've seen pedestrians crossing behind breakaways. It'll be very interesting to see what happens as we make our way through this rural part of Limpopo.
And as you're saying that, there's a car on the right-hand side of the road. But I mean, the road rangers they do an incredible job, and they're really good at what they do. I'm sure the riders will be in good hands.
And we have about 10 of them, but at times through places like this, we might need to double that. Who knows?
So these 3 riders out in front, 2 Office Guru and 1 Dimension Data rider. The Dimension Data rider, I don't think is going to do any work.
No, I wouldn't. That's Alexander Konashev, the son of famed Dmitry Konashev, former Russian pro, one of the first Russians to make their jump into the pro peloton with the Alpha Lumen team. And Alexander Konashev has held the yellow jersey in this tour. He held it a day or so ago. And he's finished up well there in the sprints. He looks like a sprinter. He's built like a sprinter. We'll see if they survive today.
We have the green jersey of Jason Oosthuizen in that chasing group of 4, trying to get to those 3 guys out in front.
Also looks like that we have the national champion Didier Munyanza for Benediction Cycling XL Energy. He is the national champion from Rwanda. So the Benediction guys, they have a white jersey with a yellow and a blue stripe across it. He has a different colored jersey because he is the Rwandan national champion. He has a blue jersey. So Oosthuizen coming up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 riders here, but I know there's just a couple out of the shot. They might be coming across. And Didier was one of those riders, should be number 32. I think that rider behind Oosthuizen might be one of the Limpopo riders. Here we go, shadows approaching.
That looks like an ACDC Luso rider. It looks like Casper Kruger, if I'm not mistaken.
So let's hope, there's the Rwandan national champion, Didier Munyanza.
As well as Clint Hendricks from Team Pro Touch. He's a very fast finisher when it comes down to the line. So he might be interested in the stage win.
8 riders.
We got confirmation that this Office Guru rider on the front is in fact not Alex Vorstel, but it is Andrew Edwards.
And HB Kruger.
And HB Kruger, there we go.
Oh,
hey,
David Marrera is going to be so upset.
It's turning out to be an interesting one.
If we could get a word back to David Marrera and tell him that HB Kruger is in the second move of the day, he might jump across. He so badly wants that red jersey. He's doing a fantastic job of getting his sponsors, Enza Proud Beginners, good coverage. Definitely worth his money. No, the red jersey should be on the shoulders of the NCCS rider from Namibia. I believe that was Mueller. So Mueller from Namibia, sorry, not Mueller, Herman Keller, rider number 83. He was awarded the red jersey after yesterday. But the Alpha Bodyworks team, Alpha Bodyworks Giant, also have a red colored jersey. That's HB Kruger, who's dropping back after doing his turn. But Herman Keller, strong rider, definitely an aggressive rider. I don't know if he's in the main field. I would presume he may have been dropped after the big climb of Magoebaskloof.
I wonder if Javier Kruger got word on that if he wins the stage today, he might be in contention for that polka dot jersey.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yep.
But this is an interesting race situation. The highest placed rider in that breakaway group is Dylan Girdleston, 1 minute 6 seconds down on the yellow jersey. They've let this break roll out quite fast. So I'm interested to see as to how hard Dimension Data are going to start to control.
Sorry, did you mention Girdlestone? How far back is he?
He is 1 minute and 6 seconds down on the yellow jersey.
Interesting. So Dimension Data have got Alexander Konashev there. Oosthuizen is in the green jersey. We know he's a fast finisher. He's there. Oh, there's been a crash. Oh, this is unfortunate. David Moreira is on the ground. Oh, no, this is unfortunate. Riders everywhere.
That looks like Gustav Besson as well from Team TEG. That's very unfortunate.
There's 4 or 5 riders on the floor. A couple of guys not moving. That's terrible. David Moreira, who was in that breakaway group earlier, or solo breakaway earlier, and joined by the Office Guru guys, he's just back in the field.
It almost looks like the race was in the left-hand side gutter there, so there might be a little breeze from the right to the left-hand side of the road, which might have caused that. We still
think we have footage coming of that. There's a couple of riders go off.
Wow, that's a big crash.
So and they were going slightly downhill.
A few riders going down.
And Alpha Bodyworks rider on the floor as well. So this is what's currently happening. David Moreira is still looking to get on the bike. We've got the Alpha Bodyworks rider there. That's Danielle Matthews, 111, who's on the floor. So unfortunately, the cameraman has been moved on. Not that we want to sort of dwell on the injured riders, but we wanted to see who else was affected. Danielle Matthews, rider 111 for Alpha Bodyworks Giant, on the floor. David Moreira, Enza Proud Beginners, he was also on the floor.
Gustav Besson also there, waiting for a wheel change, for a rear wheel change. He might have punctured when he came down.
I saw another rider in the gutter there on the floor in the white jersey of the Benediction cycling team, one of the Rwanda riders. So absolute carnage there. I don't think it happened in the gutter per se. I think someone must have touched wheels and then guys chose the dirt. Wise choice, it's softer. But well, we'll get more information about that crash as we get it. So it looks as though 42, 166, and 111 are affected. We know that 111 is Danielle Matthews, rider number 42. That is going to be Gustav Besson. So Gustav Besson affected in that. Rider 36 is also affected in that, and that is the Benediction rider of Jean Bosco Zengimana. He was the rider who was in that breakaway with Javier Kruger for the King of the Mountains. Getting other names for you as we speak. Rider number 166, that's David Moreira. We've mentioned him. And rider number 126, that's going to be Vessel Swanepoel from ACDC Luso.
That crash would have been to this breakaway group's advantage. So I'm very interested to get a time gap between the breakaway and the peloton at the moment. But these riders, there's a few teams with different interests at the moment. Team Office Guru have the yellow jersey in mind, and there are 1 or 2 riders there who are interested in the stage win.
So just before the crash happened, this group had 1 minute 15 advantage on the peloton. That's probably grown a little bit because once a crash happens, there's a little bit of a hesitation, a little bit of a look back to see who's affected. And obviously the breakaway group is still rolling with their momentum. So 1:15 before the crash, we're waiting to get confirmation to see where we're at on the road. Very unfortunate. We've had a pretty safe Tour de Limpopo up till this point. We only had one crash earlier in the week with Brad Potgieter, and Orion Craig, as you mentioned, was the victim of that. But up until now, we haven't seen something like this. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah, that crash did look quite serious. But the virtual leader on the road with that new time gap coming through is Dylan Girdleston. It's going to be up to Team Dimension Data to bring this one back.
You know, now that we talk about it, even though there was only one serious victim in Orion Craig in that earlier crash, Basson went down in that crash.
Yes.
So now he's been on the floor twice in this tour. What a difference a year makes. Last year won stages, won jerseys, won the tour. This year on the floor twice.
Yes, cycling can sometimes be very unpredictable. You can prepare as best you can, but there's always some outside factors that you can't control. And crashes are one of those factors, and you can never plan to not crash. And it's just unfortunate, but you got to roll with the punches and focus on the next one.
Very tough situation here. 126 Vessel Swanepoel, what can you tell me about him?
Vessel Swanepoel, to be honest, I don't really know much about this rider.
He's one of the riders affected and on the floor. So looks like the group is working steadily towards the city of Polokwane. As mentioned before, as we're trying to gather some information for you, the Tour de Limpopo is a group effort from Cycling South Africa and the tourism agency, Limpopo Tourism Agency. So working together to showcase this area and bring awareness to the agriculture and the recreational opportunities in this area. Fantastic place to come and visit. We were just in Sanin and the coach house. Beautiful scenery, reminded me very much of the Mpumalanga area and the Drakensberg area. Well worth a visit. I believe we have an interview with we'll be back in a short break. Okay, welcome to live coverage of Stage 4 of the 2019 Tour de Limpopo, the stage that takes us 116 kilometers from Zanin back to the capital city of Limpopo, Polokwane. Today in the booth with me is Miles. Miles is a rider with Pro Touch. He's in the booth with me today giving a perspective of the rider's point of view in the race. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Thanks for having me. So the race situation at the moment, we have this breakaway group ahead of the peloton who are word just in, they have quite a big gap over the peloton. So at the moment, the yellow jersey changing hands to Dylan Girdleston if this group stays away with the current gap.
Very interesting. We just saw a crash earlier on. We're trying to get some more information about if anyone is going to abandon the tour from that crash. It happened at a high speed. It was on a road very similar to what you see now. Slight descent. There's no headwind, no tailwind today. It's practically a windless day. So the riders were moving very quickly. In fact, looking at this group, this might be a group that's chasing back. I don't know that this is the lead group. I'm not recognizing any riders.
This is a chasing group. I'm wondering if they're chasing to the breakaway or if they're trying to get back onto the peloton.
Yeah, I don't see any numbers here of guys that were on the floor. Those guys who we saw on the floor were David Morer, Gustav Basson, Danielle Matthews, Swanepoel, and I don't see them here.
We have the under-23 national champion Mark Pritson putting a big effort on the front with his teammates from Office Guru JP Lloyd. So I think they might be actually coming across to that breakaway group. Brandon Downs on the under-23 national champion's wheel. Doesn't look like he's contributing much to this pace. And yeah, we have the breakaway group. We have Clint Hendricks hanging off the back here. Just sitting on for now. His teammate Ken Main currently in second on the general classification overall. So he doesn't need to do any of the work right now. He's just pretty much playing the policeman for the stage win, but he's not contributing to any of the pace because his team leader is in the group behind. Second at the Cape Town Cycle Tour this year, just behind the New Zealand rider Samuel Gaze, predominantly known as a mountain biker.
We just saw Mark Pritson in the white under-23 national champions jersey. So that looks to be the chasing group with the yellow jersey that we just got a glimpse from the helicopter shot. That is the chase group in one long line in the gutter. So I may be wrong. There may be wind coming from that right-hand position, roughly 2 o'clock position, and that's why everyone is riding to the left-hand side of the road. The Dimension Data guys putting everyone in the gutter there. But that is the chasing group. Second group on the road essentially with the yellow jersey. Samuel Butterstiller for Dimension Data for Quebecer.
You can see Dimension Data putting in a massive effort trying to bring that group back.
Looks like we might have some information coming from the front group. We had Alexander Konashev. Alexander Konashev is the Dimension Data rider who was in the front group, but he may be dropping back for some reason. We don't know if he's got a mechanical or if he's been called back to help these guys, but we got the 4 Dimension Data guys working hard on the front. Connor Brown is wearing the white jersey of the best under-23 rider in the tour. We've got Samuel Butterstiller wearing the yellow jersey as the best rider on overall GC. Martin Laverick, rider number 13, is pacing hard, and so is Samuel Mugisha, also pacing hard. So there's 4 committed Dimension Data riders in the chase group right here. Alexander Konashev is in the front group for them, but we have word that he may be dropping back. We've also got rider number 4, Julius J. Julius, who's sitting right behind the Dimension Data guys.
Yes, the Pro Touch boys will be right on their wheel. They're currently in second position. They won't be contributing to the pace because it will be up to Dimension Data to defend the race.
And Jay Julius is a wearer of the red jersey. He won the red jersey, I think, on the first day.
Yes, Jay Julius has worn the red jersey for a day.
That's
also,
him on the red bike there, I believe.
Yes, just behind the yellow jersey there. Also in his own right has a fair amount of results to his name. He has been an under-23 national champion in the past, and in the same year won the under-23 African champs title.
Wow, so what's interesting is that the 2 Dimension Data guys who were pacing hard didn't drop back into rotation. They've gone back quite a bit, and it looks like they've just left Martin Laverick on the front, and he's done an incredible turn. Here we go. Alexander Konashev has come back to do pacing. What a team player to come back from the breakaway and to go to the front. Laverick obviously really tired from pacing, so Konashev to the front.
What we can see from this race situation is Dimension Data are getting put under a lot of pressure right now. I wouldn't be surprised if quite soon down the line we don't see 1 or 2 Pro Touch riders going on the attack to try and bridge across to that breakaway in front. But right now we can see Dimension Data under a massive amount of pressure to try and bring this breakaway back.
Even the yellow jersey pacing on the front. Incredible. One long line. Definitely not sticking around.
I don't see the Pro Touch boys rolling through with the Dimension Data guys. They're sitting in tight, and they're just hoping that the Dimension Data guys run out of matches towards the finish. But they're looking strong. This rider has dropped back from the breakaway group. If I'm not mistaken,
that's Alexander Konashev.
Alexander Konashev dropping back from the breakaway group to come and help his team pull back this break.
In the red jersey there, rider number 112, he's in the red jersey of his own team, Alpha Bodyworks. That's HB Kruger. We saw him win the King of the Mountains challenge on that Category 2 climb earlier today. He's signaling, putting his hand up. We see rider number 1 at the back of this little group. That's the Pro Touch rider, Clint Hendricks. Very good rider on the track and on the road. And then just in front of him, in the blue and yellow jersey, that is the national champion Didier Munyaneza from Rwanda. I think that's right. Munyaneza from Rwanda. Oh, having to react to some moves there. But he is the national champion on the Benediction cycling team, XL Energy team. Connor Brown, I believe, in the white jersey there, sitting behind Alexander Konashev. Konashev, now this is a tough one. You're in the breakaway, thinking, licking your lips that you've got an opportunity for a stage win, and the team says, come back and help bring us back to the front of the race. That's going to be tough.
Well, that's racing, you know, and the overall goal for any team going into a race must be the yellow jersey. Stage wins and the polka dot jersey and the sprinter jersey is normally comes second to the yellow jersey. So definitely first priority, win the yellow jersey. So that's why he was pulled back, and he's helping his teammates now to bring that breakaway back.
Now I wonder how he got the information, because in this tour radios are banned. So it's not like they were able to communicate to them. I think what had happened was they said, go up the road. If it starts to get close on a minute, if you get information on the chalkboard that it's at a minute, then I need you to come back.
Definitely. All we might have seen is team car roll through and give him some information. But definitely, I mean, these guys are drilled professional riders. They know exactly what the team tactics are before the race, and their first priority would have been the yellow jersey. So he would have slipped back now to help the yellow jersey bring that group back.
So Connor Brown just drifting back into contention there, or back into line after doing his turn on the front. Looks like the Pro Touch rider and the TEG rider just sitting policemen, getting in the way.
I don't see them rolling through with the Dimension Data guys. Dimension Data guys, you can see they're struggling. You can see they're on their limit, but we're going to have to see how far down the line that they can actually last.
Four riders back from the yellow jersey is Stephen van Heerden in the navy blue kit with the white helmet. So he's here for Enza. Unfortunately, his teammate David Moreira has been on the floor. So, but Stephen van Heerden also pretty good finisher.
Yes, if this group comes back together, he will definitely be in contention for that stage win.
So we're getting word that the front group has dropped to 6 riders. There must have been some attacks that have happened because there were 12 there initially, and now it's down to 6. So the group has been halved. It only gets halved when it's under pressure. The Benediction rider has popped. That will be the national champion Didier for the Benediction XL Cycling, pardon me. He's popped. And what we have left here in the field is HB Kruger 112 in the red Alpha Bodyworks jersey. We've got Clint Hendricks in the white jersey, rider number 1. We've also got the green jersey.
Jason Oosthuizen in the green jersey. We have Dylan Girdleston, Casper Kruger from ACDC Luso, and we have Alexander Vorsdale. They did say earlier it was Andrew Edwards in the break, but I'm sure it's number rider 66, who is actually Alexander Vorsdale.
So 2 guys from Office Guru Racing here, but the green jersey, Oosthuizen, a fast finisher. He could be a contender. HB Kruger is another guy. Although he won the King of the Mountains challenge earlier on in today's stage, he has finished 3rd in the Cape Town Cycle Tour in a sprint finish to Nolan Hoffman. He cannot be discounted for a good finish.
Definitely not. If it comes down to the line with this group, it's going to be between Harbia Kruger, Jason Oosthuizen and Clint Hendricks.
Clint Hendricks, yeah, he was the other guy I was going to put in there. And that's probably why Clint is just sitting on the back, conserving.
Yeah, so Clint sitting on the back probably has the stage win in mind, but he's just playing policeman for his team who are in the chasing bunch now.
NCCS right here, that's rider number 82, Ryan Terry. So NCCS is a team out of Namibia, and that is Ryan Terry. He seems to be the only rider for his team in this front group. His rider, Herman Keller, his teammate, number 83, Herman Keller, won the red jersey from yesterday. He was considered the most aggressive rider after the stage 3's stage up to Coach House. He was in 2 moves yesterday, both moves lasting about 20 minutes or so. So he was awarded the most aggressive rider of yesterday.
Ryan Terry actually guest riding for NCCS. He is a first year under 23 and rides for the Pro Touch Wonders Club. So Ryan Terry managing to get himself a guest ride onto the Namibian team for this race.
Nice, nice.
So this is the front group. This is the breakaway group. I'm interested to see what the time gap is. But we have a big reaction from the peloton. They're trying to close that gap. It looks like Jade Julius on the attack there from Team Pro Touch.
Nice. It looks like they're going to be heading on to the N1. It looks like they're going to be heading on to the N1 and making their way to Polokwane now. And we should get shots of the stadium pretty soon.
2 hours, 25 minutes into the race. We are approaching the finish now. We're on the highway that brings us to the stadium, where they will start the 5 laps of 4 kilometers. And there's a big reaction coming from the peloton right now. They have to close this gap. Team Dimension Data have to pull this breakaway gap back to save the yellow jersey.
We're at about 2 hours and 25 minutes worth of racing here today, and so we've just turned left onto the N1. It says that we are probably about, if we're on time with this left turn onto the N1, it says we've got about half an hour left of racing today. I'm not too sure if that's the case. We've got 116 kilometers. A half an hour left of racing. That puts us right at the 3 hour mark. That might be the case, in fact. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to the live coverage of Stage 4 in the 2019 Tour de Limpopo. We're 2.5 hours into racing, and we're approaching the city of Polokwane, the capital city of the Limpopo region. Interesting shot there with the supporter on the other side of the highway.
It's brilliant.
Seen that in the Tour. Never thought I'd see it in the Tour de Limpopo.
Yeah, that's a great angle that we're watching at the moment. It looks like Team Dimension Data have got themselves organized once again after those few attacks in the peloton. But this now the breakaway group. Not quite sure of the time gap, but it looks like they're all rolling through quite hard, and they're all committed to getting this group to the finish line first.
Yeah, shortly, I know this crest on the highway, shortly we'll start to see the Peter Makabo Stadium in the distance and the city of Polokwane. It's quite an impressive stadium that was built for the 2010 World Cup soccer. So they're not far from town now, and once they get here, we do a 5-lap circuit race. Each lap is about 3 kilometers around the stadium to provide a little bit of a spectacle for the local fans. There's the stadium in the distance. Very impressive stadium built in 2010 for the Football World Cup. So we're not far from town now, and we will be racing 5 laps around that stadium before we finish in 116 kilometers. Incidentally, today, 1,976 meters of vertical climbing. The first hotspot sprint came at 14.5k. Right after that hotspot sprint, the climb began, and it was a 12-kilometer climb, finishing at the 26.7 kilometer mark. That was won by HB Kruger. And he's in the break again. So a fast finisher here. Guys shaking out their legs. We're making our way towards the city.
A lot of that climbing coming in the first part of the race. So that's a lot of climbing.
Yeah, what's interesting is that the breakaway that we see here had nothing to do with what happened on the climb. It's had to do with attacks after the climb on the flatlands.
Exactly, you're right.
So this is very interesting. I think it was it's an unusual thing to put a climb of that significance, 12 kilometers long, that early in the stage, but it's a good thing because what it does is it allows enough time for the opportunists, to take the race by the horns and come back at it and not play into the advantage or into the strengths of the climbers the whole time.
Definitely, because what we saw at the top of their climb was a very small group coming over the crest, and what it looked like was one or two groups managed to rejoin. So the bunch swelled up a few kilometers after the climb, and there were more riders in contention. There's the gap. Team Dimension Data digging deep to bring this breakaway back. It's all or nothing now for them.
Definitely looks like there's more than a minute differential here.
Clint Hendricks still sitting on the back of this group. Harbia Kruger, Jason Oosthuizen, and the two Office Guru guys digging deep to try and get this breakaway to survive. Clint Hendricks probably interested in the stage win, but more importantly just playing policeman for his GC rider who is in the chase group.
Very fast finisher. I think that he's doing well to save himself for the finish. I'm concerned for HB Kruger. He's doing a lot of work. I don't think he has to do much work. He could sit on.
I think he's interested in the stage win.
Potentially, yeah, for sure. But I think, there is Stephen van Heerden in the navy blue, sitting in about 6th wheel. TEG up front and Pro Touch up front.
Yes, what we see as 3-dimension data guys pacing to try and bring this breakaway back. There was one Pro Touch rider, Jay Julius, on their wheel, and then we saw Louis Visser from Team TEG tucked in behind him. So this is the lead group out on the road, coming towards the stadium. They'll be almost starting the laps, the
circuit race,
the circuit race,
3-kilometer circuit around the stadium. That's the impressive soccer stadium. Just to the left of that is the athletic stadium. So these guys are going to be turning. They're not far now, but Dimension Data is working super hard to try and limit the loss here. They've got to bring it back within a minute or so. Oosthuizen in the green jersey. He has sewn up that competition. Jason Oosthuizen, fantastic rider for TEG Continental, wearing the green jersey and bringing it home. It's nice to see the green jersey in contention for the stage win.
It looked like Casper Kruger there from Team ACDC Luso trying to put in a big attack on this breakaway group. It looks like he took the wrong way around the circle. or the right way around.
Yeah,
it looks like he took a shortcut. And now he's gapped the guys. There's some daylight between them.
I think that was Clint Hendricks. No, Clint is on the back, yeah.
No, Clint's sitting tight there in the back. That was Casper Kruger from Team ACDC Luso.
Okay.
Took the shortcut around the circle and now sees himself with a slight gap. Dylan Girdleston driving it hard to try and bring him back. He's interested in the yellow jersey right now.
Just to give you an idea, we've done roughly 99 kilometers worth of racing. We're at about the 100k mark or just shy of it. We've got about 16 kilometers left of racing to go as we enter this final circuit finish outside the Peter Makaba Stadium. It's very difficult as the riders approach a turn circle. You don't know which way to go. If you're going straight through this turn circle, it's an equal advantage to go either side, but we were actually turning to the right. So by him taking the sort of shortcut side, and he had every right to take that side because it is road closure at this point. So he had every right to go on the short-handed side, but sort of out of practice, out of just habit from driving, the other guys went the other way around.
Went the other way around. Yeah. So the riders will have full road closure on the circuit. So that's probably what he was thinking. Take the inside line, which is the shortest line, and it would be a much bigger advantage than going all the way around. So Team Dimension Data driving the pace hard. The time gap is close to a minute. It's going to be very close.
It's going to be very close on the line. For those of you who are watching the broadcast in the first few days where I got a few names wrong, I want you to take a quick note of something. The 3 riders on the front have white jerseys with green accents to those jerseys. Those are the Dimension Data guys. If you look at the riders just a little bit behind the yellow jersey, they're also predominantly white jerseys with green flashes on. Those are the TEG riders. And we have The Pro Touch guys, white jerseys with green accents on. Very difficult from the air or from a distance to differentiate between the Dimension Data jerseys with the white and green. They're in second place, to the Pro Touch jersey that was
Very
in fourth
similar.
place, to the TEG jersey. So anyway, the riders, they've just passed our commentary booth, and we've got the marching band outside. So that shot literally showed where we were. We are sitting in a commentary booth right opposite the finish line, and the breakaway group has just passed us, entering lap number 1.
Alex Vorsdale there absolutely burying himself for his teammate Dylan Girdleston. They're trying to keep that lead. They need 1 minute and 6 seconds on the chase group now for Dylan Girdleston to go into that yellow jersey.
Well, I don't know if you saw that, but this front group is starting to separate. These guys are sitting easily 50k an hour as they start to really wind it up. Martin Laverick, the outstanding domestique, is doing a mega turn on the front, trying to pull this back. They definitely want it within the 1 minute mark. Those breakaway guys still in a rhythm, but it's coming down.
Casper Kruger, is he still up ahead after taking the circle on the inside?
No, I haven't seen him. He might still be. Those guys need to worry about that. So that's the finish line right there. Our commentary booth is about 50 meters on the other side of that. And these guys, this is the lead group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think if they pan
No,
6.
there he is there. So
Yep.
that's Casper Kruger. So he must have been reeled in
Yep.
after taking that circle on the inside.
And perhaps he thought to himself, with 15k to go, it wasn't worth pushing on. So what we've got here in this breakaway group, we've got Alpha Bodyworks represented by HB Kruger in that red jersey of the Alpha Bodyworks guys. We've got Clint Hendricks, rider number 1 from Pro Touch. We've also got Office Guru. They've got 2 riders in this breakaway.
They have 2 riders in the break, Alexander Vorsdale and Dylan Girdleston.
And then ACDC, they also have a rider here in Casper Kruger.
Office Guru's interest at the moment, they're burying themselves for that yellow jersey.
There's my boy James Jobber, 135 from the Great British Velo Skills team. I very much like him. He's a real fighter. He's been in just about every lead group on just about every day of this 4-day stage race. Fantastic youngster. And I believe he's lying in the top 10 if I'm not mistaken.
James Jobber currently in 8th position, 3 minutes 21 seconds down on the yellow jersey.
For the Great British team, or the Team Velo Skills, which is registered in the UK. So this is going to be interesting. If I was a betting person, I might say that they'll bring them back.
Yeah, I must agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
It looks like they're riding a lot faster than the breakaway group. That's going to be very interesting because they have burnt a lot of matches chasing this breakaway back, and that leaves Pro Touch on the upper hand, having not spent any pennies. So Kent Main 1 second behind the yellow jersey. It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to try and get a small gap on the race leader.
Well, we have an interesting. I haven't been able to spot Kent Main, and we have an interesting dilemma because we know that if a rider leads 2 jersey classifications, let's say he's leading the general classification in the yellow jersey and he's leading the green jersey, he can only wear one. The general classification jersey, the yellow jersey, is prioritized, so he wears that. The second placed rider would wear, and the second placed rider in the green jersey would wear that jersey. But we've got a real interesting dilemma here because Samuel Battistilla, Dimension Data for Quebec, he actually is leading in 3 jerseys. He has the general classification yellow jersey. He has the best under 23 rider or best young rider, which is the white jersey. He has the King of the Mountains jersey as well. So he's going to wear the yellow jersey, which means that the best young rider goes to second place. Second place would be Connor Brown, Dimension Data for Quebec, so he should wear the white jersey. But Connor Brown is also second place in the King of the Mountains jersey. So Connor Brown will probably prioritize, and in fact he did, that white jersey of the best young rider. And so he is wearing that, and we've seen him on the front, which means that the third place of the King of the Mountains jersey should be wearing that jersey, which is Kent Main. But I haven't seen Kent in the polka dot jersey, and I'm trying to locate him because if this comes together as a unit and it comes down to the sprint finish, Kent Main could win this tour if he gets the time bonus on the finish line. So I'm looking for that polka dot jersey to try and see his positioning, to see if he can outsprint Samuel Battistella from Dimension Data to take the overall tour. Very tricky situation.
I don't think Ken Main is wearing that polka dot jersey from the pictures I've seen in the bunch. So there he was. We've just passed him. He's wearing his normal Pro Touch kit.
Okay. All right. So we don't have an easy spot. We've got or an easy rider to spot with a distinguished jersey. We're looking for a Pro Touch jersey.
Yep. He's sitting in just behind the yellow jersey there. Second wheel behind looks like Jade Julius. So keep your eye out for Kent. He's 1 second behind Samuel Battistella, and I think he's hungry for that jersey.
Through the turn circle, heading around the large car park outside the Peter Macabo Stadium. That is the breakaway group. I'd love to get a time gap between them.
Yeah, so those are the 6 out in front. We haven't got a time gap just yet, but we're waiting to see as they come round. I think they have 2 laps to go.
Is it 2 laps to go now?
Possibly could be 3.
Yeah, just before they entered these circuits, they were at 1 minute and 3 seconds.
Wow, that's super close. Dylan Girdleston, 1 minute 6 seconds behind the yellow jersey. They took that corner into the stadium 1 minute 3 seconds behind the breakaway group. So at this stage, there's 3 seconds in it. But remember, there's also time bonuses on the line. So this race coming down to the very, very last kilometers.
Still no word on the crash victims that happened about half an hour ago. That was Gustav Besson, Daniel Matthews, David Marer, Swanepoel, and John Bosco Zengimana. Those guys went down hard at a very fast crash, and we don't know if they're back in the race or not. Maybe we'll get some information on that for you guys. But we're on the final finishing circuits outside the Peter Macabo Stadium, heading towards the final end of the 2019 Tour de Limpopo.
On the front of that breakaway now, Alexander Vorsdale absolutely putting in everything he can for his teammate Dylan Girdleston. They want this breakaway to stay away and get a gap of at least 1 minute 6 seconds. Clint Hendricks still sitting on the back there, sitting in tight. I don't think he's going to be rolling through anytime soon. If the break does stay away, I think his interests are the stage win. A few very quick finishes in this breakaway group. We have Harbia Kruger, we have Jason Oosthuizen and Clint Hendricks, who can all pack out quite a big punch in a sprint. So definitely for the stage win, if it does come down to the line, it'll be between those 3 riders. The Office Guru riders, their interest at the moment would definitely be the overall contention for that yellow jersey.
Of the 2 Office Guru riders, which would you say is the faster finisher?
I would say Dylan Girdleston.
Dylan.
Yes. And considering there's time bonuses on the line, he's going to have to put in every effort to try and get those time bonuses. Time bonuses, I think, are only for first and second position, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
10 seconds and 5 seconds.
10 and 5 seconds. It's now down to 1 minute. So from 1 minute 3 seconds, it's down to 1 minute now.
That's quite consistent. So, wow, this is interesting. So with that time bonus on the line, Dylan Girdleston is going to have to sprint, and he's going to have to win the sprint of the breakaway group if he wants to take home the yellow jersey.
How is Casper Kruger for a finisher, do you know?
I haven't seen him win a sprint in the past.
Okay.
But don't count him out for a late attack.
We know he's good at taking corners because he went through that.
He takes the inside line.
He takes the inside line.
Yeah.
So, but we got a straight finish here coming up. So these guys, this is the breakaway group of 6, lapping some riders who came in towards the back or off the back of the main peloton. So those stragglers have been pushed aside and held aside to allow the breakaway group to go through.
You know what happens with the riders that get lapped? Do they get pulled out of the race, or is there a time penalty? Or do they just keep going until they finish?
No, I think that they're either going to get placed with a different time.
Okay.
But they are allowed to finish. Certainly, today's has a time cut similar to the other days at 20%. So they will be allowed to finish the tour. But this is the main peloton with the yellow jersey chasing hard. We got the last time gap we got was at 1 minute mark. In this field as well is James Jobber, number 135, the rider in the black with the yellow flashes on his shoulder. He's from Great Britain. 2 riders up from him is Stephen van Heerden, very fast finisher for Enza Proud Beginners. So we've got some sprinters still left in the field. Oosthuizen pushing hard. Jason Oosthuizen in the green jersey. He has that competition locked up. He will wear the win the green jersey for the most consistent rider on points. So he's got that, but he's also hungry for a stage, being a good sprint finisher. Wants to keep this group away.
It looks like Harbia Kruger has not rolled through for a while. It looks like he's rolling through now. There's a bit of a gap opening up there, but I'm sure they're still there. They've just got onto the front too. So yeah, they come through. This is the start-finish line. I think they're going to come through 2 more times, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah. We didn't hear the bell, but they've just gone past our commentary booth right there, the 6 riders. Now we should count it out from there. That was at about the 2:45:55.
So the time gap is coming down.
I believe it's coming down. I was just trying to get a time on the corner screen.
And there we go, the breakaway group of 5 riders. We got 2 Office Guru, Harbia Kruger from Alpha Bodyworks. We have the green jersey there, Jason Oosthuizen, Clint Hendricks, and we have Casper Kruger from AC/DC Duso, putting in a big effort. This is all about the yellow jersey now.
Now these guys are coming through there at 47, 49, so it's probably about 50 seconds in it. It's between 50 seconds and a minute between the breakaway group and these guys. Sure, it's going to be close. They may have 6Ks left of the race. If it's 2 laps left, each lap is about 3K. To bring back a minute in 6K or 50 seconds in 6K, that's roughly 10 seconds a K. I don't know if it can be done. I don't know if the little diminutive rider from TEG, is that Louis Visser?
Yes,
He's hanging on the back there.
Hanging on the back there.
Nice guy. I spoke with him at dinner last night. Super positive guy. Great attitude. Nice to see him up here as well.
Actually rode for the Dimension Data Continental team last year, along with Kent Main. So they're all very familiar. All these Dimension Data riders were their teammates last year. So off the bike, they're probably good friends as well.
So another interesting dilemma as we race the circuit around the Peter Mokaba Stadium is that rider in 4th place there with the red Alpha Bodyworks jersey is HB Kruger. He is currently tied for the King of the Mountains jersey with the yellow jersey wearer that we see here, Samuel Battistella. So Samuel Battistella, the leader of the race, also is the leader of the KOM jersey, but he is tied with HB Kruger. So they both have 12 points apiece. So I asked the commissaires how they're going to split that, and it's going to come down to stage wins. Battistella won yesterday's stage, so in this case, he will get the polka dot jersey. Battistella right now is out of contention for the stage finish today. If HB Kruger wins today's stage, it'll be equal on points in the KOM competition, equal on number of stage wins. Then how are they going to split it? It might come down to whoever won the last stage or whoever is leading on general classification.
That's brilliant. I can't believe so much has come down to the very last kilometers of this race. It's incredible. It's turned out to be such an awesome race to follow and to be a part of.
And you really need to know the intricacies of the sport to understand how that could be affected. Interesting to see the commissaire's car here, the Audi commissaire's car behind the race, the peloton. Our race cars or our tour cars provided by Audi of Polokwane. Nice to have such class cars in the race. There's the breakaway group just going through the start-finish area. 6 riders, and I get it at 32, so 48:32 on the clock on the screen.
Are we into the final lap just yet, or are there 2 laps to go?
I didn't hear a bell, and I assume that we would hear a bell.
So we could be on to the second last lap. 6 out in front. And
So we
here
should
comes
get
the
an accurate time gap given to us shortly.
Dimension Data digging deep to bring this. This
Down to 42 seconds. So the last
there we go.
lap we were at 50 plus. Now we're down to 42. So it is coming down at roughly 8 to 10 seconds a lap.
Yeah, the
gonna
breakaway
be
group
close.
losing time at the moment.
Oh, it's going to be close. You can see the impetus has kind of gone here a little bit. The two Office Guru guys working so hard to gain a time advantage, not worried about the stage at all. The other guys sort of playing their cards. It's going to be incredibly close. These guys going like rockets.
And that's first and second position on general classification, sitting in tight. The yellow jersey, followed by Kent Main on his wheel. They are separated by 1 second at the start of today. It's going to be interesting to see if Ken Main is going to try and gap Samuel
But
for a couple of for a couple
Mm.
of seconds.
Just see Alexander Parsons in the yellow jersey for the Brunei team in the top part of your picture. He's obviously been lapped, in the closing stages of today's race. He's a rider that's been riding with that Brunei cycling team for the 2019 season. He did the Tour of Mesopotamia not so long ago, where their team finished 5th on general classification. So he's
There
a
you go.
well-traveled guy. Attacks.
So this looks like Ken Main putting in an attack. Hot on his wheel is the Dimension Data rider,
Oh, look at
the yellow
this.
jersey.
Yeah, man, reactions coming from everywhere. We've got even Connor Brown in the white jersey there trying to come back so he can offer some support. We've got Jay Julius there on the red bike in the for
Team Pro Touch.
Pro Touch.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah. Jay Julius Team Pro Touch. He's trying to hang on to the back there. He needs Ken Main needs his help in the last few kilometers if he's going to try and get those bonus seconds on the line. But first, the group has to bring this breakaway group back. And do you think they're going to come down?
You know, I'm looking at 42 seconds. There was no reason for Kent Main to attack it because the third placed rider is
Connor Brown.
Connor Brown. No, he was right with him. The fourth place rider, Mark Pritson, is out of contention. So I wonder if the attack is a little bit showing his cards that he's not so confident for the sprint finish.
I think I think you're right. Ken's not very confident for the sprint finish. He's trying to gap Samuel there for that 1 second.
This
But it looks
Is
like
this-
Javier Kruger.
Whoa, that is the finish. Wow.
That is the finish.
Wow, we didn't even hear that. We didn't even hear the bell. I cannot believe that.
It looks like Clint Hendricks took it home, stage 4.
Oh, HB Kruger looked like he was celebrating, and Clint Hendricks nipped underneath him there. I cannot believe that is the finish. I thought we were going to get a bell before that. This is unbelievable. I'm going to step out and try and find either HB Kruger or Clint Hendricks for an interview. Miles is going to continue with the commentary for now.
So this is the chasing group. They are coming across the line. It doesn't look like that was a minute gap, so it looks like Samuel Battistella holds on to the yellow jersey, and that was an incredible race. It came down to the very last kilometers, and I think Clint Hendricks taking the stage. Javier Kruger did a victory salute, but it looks like Clint Hendricks came on the inside and took the stage win. We'll just need confirmation on that. Kent Main trying on the last lap to gap Samuel Battistella from Team Dimension Data, but unfortunately he was not able to. And it looks like, from my prediction, Team Dimension Data are still in the yellow jersey and have won the Tour of Limpopo.
All right, I'm here at the end of stage 4 of the Tour de Limpopo. I'm here with HB Kruger. He was in some moves of the day and had a very technical finish here at the finish line. I don't know who quite got it. HB, how did it go for you?
Yeah, it was a hard day from the gun. I needed some King of the Mountain points, so I went out sort of from the start. Got a gap on the main bunch and took the first com. I'm still waiting for the Chief Commissaire's outcome of who got the jersey. And then coming into the finish, I got into another move about 40 k's to go. And I felt that the move might stick and we might have a chance to go to the line. I rolled with the guys until about 2 laps to go. And we worked quite well together. Obviously, Dylan Girdleston from Office Guru was also in there, and he had some time to gain on GC riders. So they helped push the move quite good. We got a gap. I came into the first corner with a bit of a flyer because I knew Clint Hendricks there is really fast. Got a bit of a gap, and I think I made a rookie mistake by throwing my hands up in the air over the line. So I think he might have just pipped me, but I think we have to wait for the photo for the finish.
Yeah, certainly you had great position into the final corner. I saw you actually make your move to get that first position. From our position, we couldn't see if you got it, but I saw you go to celebrate, and then I saw you quickly put your hands back. So do you...
Kurt, I didn't look at Auckland come past me. So, yeah, to be honest, it's going to be really close. But I mean, if he gets it, he obviously deserves it.
But nevertheless, a big day in the saddle for you today, almost from the gun, up the long climb, the 12-kilometer climb. You took the King of the Mountains points. Another move, jersey for the most aggressive rider of the day.
But Maria on the road for quite a while again, so obviously he was in the hunt for the jersey again. So I think that's going to be quite tough. But all in all, it was a good stage and the racing was very positive, and it's awesome to see that from the local South African riders.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for being here.
Cool. Thank you.
That's us from the final finish of the stage 4 at the Tour de Limpopo. Thanks for joining us. All right, I'm here with Mark Pritson from Office Guru, national champion under 23. How did it go for you today, Mark?
Everything initially went quite well. So up the climb, everything stayed more or less together. Big group came back to us. Then we decided, because David Marais was up the road, we decided to send 2 guys up to get the Data boys, just put them under pressure. And well, that worked well. They got caught straight after, but then Dylan and Alex Forstall went up the road, and that was perfect because somehow Data sent 1 oak there and then they set up, which was a bit of a confusion. Nobody expected that. After that, the bunch started chasing. Data really realized what was actually happening, and so. After that, went over a crest, went down the other side, and I don't know, someone touched wheels and it just went down. I was behind that, so I went off into the bush, jumped the embankment, dodged some boulders. That's part of racing. But then my chain came off, started chasing back, and unfortunately we were sent in the wrong direction. So yeah, we went into the wrong direction by 2 Ks before the commissaire came back to us and said, well, you guys have to turn around and go back to the bridge where the traffic officer didn't show us where to go. So yeah, that was, then we were out of it. We weren't going back anyway, so we just rode to the finish line, did our laps, and that was it, yeah. But part of racing.
Wow, we didn't catch that on the helicopter at all. We did see the tail end of that crash. I saw that David Marais and Gustav Besson went down. You didn't have to put down a foot. You avoided it totally?
Yeah, I was off the road completely. I was into the embankment, jumping the stones and stuff like that. But I had to stop. My chain was off, was tangled, untangled it, put it back on. Yeah, it looked like we might have gotten back. It was a long shot. Obviously, we would have. It depends on what the racing was going to do up ahead. If it was going to slow down, we would have probably got back. But that's part of racing, and it's unfortunate we were sent the wrong way.
Certainly, your team office crew put in a lot of attacks after Zion City, and 2-prong attacks both times. It looked like you guys may have been also hunting a stage finish.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the boys have ridden really, really well the last couple of days. So yeah, if we had gotten a stage result, that would have been brilliant. But I don't know actually who won the stage. I still haven't seen the results. But yeah, we were in a yellow for a slight moment there. But yeah, the Data guys were just too strong for us.
Well, the stage was very tricky at the end. It looked like HB Kruger put his arms up to celebrate, and it looks as though Clint Hendricks may have snuck underneath his left armpit. So we're still waiting on confirmation ourselves.
Okay, well that's good. It's good for HB. He's been racing brilliantly. Clint as well. Clint's actually an initial sprinter, but he's been climbing with us. I mean, yeah, no, well done to those guys.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here. Will you be back next year?
Absolutely. No, I have to come back and got some business to finish here.
Fantastic. That's Mark Pritson, national champion under 23 at the final stage of the 2019 Tour de Limpopo. All right, I'm at the finish line with James Jobber. Jobber rides for the Skills team, which is based in the United Kingdom. He's their best place rider on general classification. I believe he's lying in 8th position. How did it go for you today, James?
It went okay, yeah. It was a stressful stage. To be honest, the longer climbs don't suit me as much. So I struggled yesterday as well, lost a bit of time. But yeah, I just sort of paced myself on the climb, got back on. There was a guy in the green jersey, one other. We managed to get back on before the 2 climbs after. And then there was kind of a big group. It settled down for a little while. And then obviously the break went. They started chasing and there was a massive crash. Thankfully I got around that. Again, it's just so stressful when you know you've got that GC position on the line. But yeah, I managed to get around that and yeah, sort of saved the legs to the end, just stayed out of trouble and yeah, kind of happy to get it's first top 10 in a 2.2, so I'm really happy with that.
That's fantastic. I was about to say, every day you've been there or thereabouts. You're in the 11-man move that came to the line here in Polokwane a couple of days ago. So top 10 position, was that the team's aim? Was that your personal aim?
It was my personal aim. Twice it's a fairly inexperienced group. Even I haven't had many days at this level. So I just sort of took my chance on the first day, and yeah, it may be a slight bit of luck to get in that group, but yeah, took my chance there. And then second day as well, it was just a complete test of an all-round bike rider. Really, you had the climbs, the descents, and a range of climbs as well. The short, punchy stuff, which suits me a little better, and then the longer climbs as well, and then. Just your bunch skills to avoid those crashes as well. So yeah, as I say, it's more of a personal aim, and the team were just here to hopefully pick up a few stage races. So to top 10 GCs, yeah, I'm really happy with that. Twice.
As a rider racing out of Great Britain, the topography and the area around here must be very different to what you're used to racing in. Even from Polokwane, where we've got the sort of dry aloes, and then we go down to Tzaneen where the fruitlands are. It was a fantastic and beautiful race, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I've never raced anywhere like this. So it's first time in Africa, and obviously first time in South Africa as well. I mean, luckily I had a week out here before to explore around Pretoria, to climb a little. But strangely, the roads are very similar to where I am back home. Obviously, it's a few degrees warmer, but yeah, just a beautiful area to be riding your bike, really.
Will you be back next year?
Yeah, hopefully, if the organisers have us back, yeah, I'll definitely be back here, and yeah, hopefully crack a podium next year.
Fantastic. Well, it's been fantastic having your team here. I hope to see you back next year.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, I'm going to move straight on to David Marais. David, please, could we have you in for an interview? So David Marais with the Enza Proud Beginners team. David was in that earlier break today, but then unfortunately fell victim to a crash. How do you feel?
A little bit of pain at the moment, but yeah, happy it's over. I have a little bit of a break now. Trained a bit for the tour, and yeah, I gave it my best. I'm happy with the results. Would have liked to give it a stab at the end in the sprint, but yeah, ended up on the floor.
I saw a number of riders, Gustav Poston, Daniel Matthews from Alpha Bodyworks, Swanepoel, and even the Benediction rider Bosco was on the floor. How did that crash happen?
I'm not sure. I mean, we were in the line, and Team Dimension Data was starting the chase, and I think a few guys just touch of wheels in front of us, and yeah, I just had nowhere to go.
And you guys couldn't mount a chase and get back to the field. There was maybe only 30 k's left in the race.
No, I think I had a few problems with my bike when I crashed. I got up quite fast to get back on, but my chain had twisted and I had to do a wheel change. So quite a few things. I think it took me, by the time we got back up, they were already 3 minutes ahead. So it's just too much to close down in the last 30 k's.
Super unfortunate. Great to see you attacking. You're always attacking. One of the most exciting riders to watch in South Africa. I'm glad you're standing. I hope you'll be back next year.
Yeah, definitely be back, and probably still attacking.
Fantastic. That's David Marais, Team Enza Proud Beginners. This is Kurt Begeman at the finish line of the 2019 Tour de Limpopo.